So let me see. Is it recording? It's so different. Okay, it's recording. So like I said, we're literally going to go through this together. If you guys have your computers, just go with it with me, okay? So I'm going to copy this. Let me put this over here. And then this is my document because just it's easy that way. Okay, that did not paste the way I want it to. Paste without framing. Okay. So we start with the most obvious thing. So the instruction says, please make sure to identify your work on the top. So there's no specific thing of whether it's left or right, you know? So I'm going to fill out my part. You guys fill it out however you want, okay? Today is 3/6/2022. Date assignment. So this is midterm. This is how I would do it. I was trying to find my previous midterm, but I can't find it. I only have all the like handouts and handout work that I did to make the midterm, but I don't know where my midterm is, so I can't reference that. Just wanted to let you guys know. So right here, I'm just going to delete that since I'm answering the question as it goes. I'm just deleting it. So the midterm has two parts. Please type, double space, and submit through Canvas. So let's just make sure we do, you know, the classic thing where it says Times New Roman, 12-point font, and it's obviously double space. And then let's remove this highlighting. Okay. So like I said, step by step, right? So then be concise and clear in your response. Carefully edit your work in terms of spelling, grammar, and outlining in your argument. Below are two questions you are expected to address. So when it comes to grammar and stuff, personally, I save that to the end. If you Sac State does offer Grammarly, that should be a free access thing even without Sac State, but just letting you guys know. So you finish, you type up everything you can, and then you edit it at the end, and you just do, you know, you clean it up. So this exam must not exceed 6 pages. Please plan carefully to receive the credit. Late exams are not an option. So then from there, we already finished answering that most part. So we have, okay, so I can tell from here she has it on the right side. So I'm going to move that to the right side just to be safe, because, you know, as I see what she has, you kind of just copy it, you know? All right, let's see. Right here. So this is where it gets very tricky, and we're going to break it down together, okay? Let me do that again. Okay, I know this pasted really weird, so let me fix this really quick, okay? I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. Okay, let me fix this. Okay, I'm gonna make this bigger too. I didn't even think about that. Okay, so you see this, it's like really overwhelming and you're thinking, where do I even start? So let's just read it sentence by sentence, and then we're going to break down that sentence and put bullet points of the things you should answer and where to find those answers, okay? So the first sentence is, how does social and personal identity operate in your life as a college student? So you remember when you guys did your Who Am I? And you guys had to talk about your social and personal identity? Right there, that's your answer. So your answer is okay. So the answer is through the Who Am I assignment. So this is what I do when I have something, literally just copy and paste that whole document and put it right there. And then you just break down and cut and paste what you actually want there. So that's how you know that's the first answer within this huge paragraph, right? But there's like multiple things you got to answer. And then within that Who Am I assignment, it goes into social identity. That's one thing you need to answer with this question. So let's go ahead and write that down. Okay. And then we're going to answer here. I'm going to answer it just to show you guys because everyone's answer is going to be different. So what is my social identity? Oh, right. Social identity. And this is going to help throughout the remaining of the midterm. Social identity is I identify as Chicana. I'm a woman. Let's see. I'm a daughter. And I'm a sister. You know, everyone's going to answer it differently based on whatever they want, you know, whether you identify as gay or anything like that. If that's important to you, you write that down. There's no problem with that, okay? That's what your social identity is. So then just answering on my perspective, right? What's my personal identity? I'm a student. Or to be even more specific, I can say I'm a first-generation student. And if you guys have any more answers to elaborate on that, feel free to elaborate that. But those answers are really within your who am I assignment. So you can just copy and paste it and that section's already done. But I know what gets overwhelming is it is six pages maximum. And your who am I is, I don't know how many pages it is, but that is a lot. So you do have to tailor it down. And we are just answering one sentence right now. So then let's read the next sentence, okay? This is the next sentence. Please share one lived experience as a college student that explains how social and personal identity appears and operates in your life. I feel like she gives this example a lot, but I can also answer it. Please share one lived experience as a college student that explains how social and personal identity appears and operates in your life. So me, for example, you know, identities shift depending wherever you go. You know, when you go to the grocery store and you're at the register, you talk to the clerk in a certain way. You know, it's the same thing. You know, me, I'm from South Sac. I talk to the people here in the street completely different than how I talk to them at school. You know, this is the personality I'm giving you guys at school. But if we're in like if it's casual and personal, it's going to be casual street talk, if that makes sense. So right here, when it says, please share one lived experience as a college student that explains how social and personal identity appears and operates in your life. So imagine, you know, you go to school and you're taking whatever classes you're taking, you know, whatever your major is. And then you go home and you're having lunch. And then people like, you're very like interested and very excited what happened in class. So you start talking about it with your family. And then your family just sees how excited you are. And then they're just like, this is a whole different person, because, you know, if you're a computer engineer and you're talking about computer engineering with your family who, you know, like in my example, my mom only went up to 3rd grade. She's going to be like, what are you talking about? What is that? So that's a lived experience that I personally have had. I'm not with computer engineering, but just in general. So then that's how you would answer it. Whatever happened in school, and then you come home, that's how you operate it. You know, and that's how people see you too. So I'm going to write this down in a bullet point, and I'm also going to share this document with you guys so you guys can have access to it too. So let's see. There we go. So that's in my example. Everyone's going to have a different example. You know, you're going to talk to somebody different when you're working, or when you're talking to your friend or to a dog. You know, everyone's social identity and personal identity is different. But remember, whatever you wrote right here for your social identity, so, you know, as a woman and a sister, I have to emphasize that part too, you know? And then as my personal identity is as a student too. So remember, whatever you say here, you got to answer it down below. And I feel like I could have done that. Okay. I don't know if I answered that well. Let's see. You guys are following through with me, right? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, so let's read the next sentence. Here, 1 second. Okay, so considering that you are not only a college student, what is more apparent that you need to somehow negotiate another social identity with being a college student in order to do well? Hold on, let me think about how to answer that one. Considering you're not only a college student, what is more apparent that you need to somehow negotiate to another social identity with being a college student in order to do well? Okay, so this is the best way I can answer it. And I'll make sure to check in with the professor to make sure I'm answering this right. So I'm a college student. Someone's social identity. Okay, so my social identity is a woman and a Chicana. And then someone else's social identity would be a white woman, right? So we're both women. We can both connect in that part, but our, you know, race or ethnicity, we identify differently. So we're both together and we're taking the same class, but somehow, somehow I just need to continue to prove myself because like we're both straight A students, but somehow she's just doing just a little bit better than me, or maybe I'm doing better than her. Why is it that I'm doing better than her? You know, like what is it that I have to constantly prove? Not only as a college student, you know, I also have to prove that, you know, as a Chicana college student, that I can also meet in her level, you know, that, you know, even though I'm the first one in my family and she's had probably like 5 other family members who've attended college, I can still meet at her level. So that means I have to put in extra work, but she has mentors, guidance, and she has family who she can rely on. I don't have any of that, but I'm still trying to meet at the same level, even though I don't have those resources. That's how you would answer that question. But remember, my social identity is Chicana woman. Your identity is going to be different. Your social identity is going to be different. So your answer is going to be different than mine. But I'm still going to write it down. And hopefully that part helps you. Okay, I really hope that question makes sense. Did it? Because you guys are kind of quiet. You guys can throw it in the chat if you want.
It's kind of confusing.
How so?
I don't really understand what she means by. I asked this in class, so I should understand, but I really don't. But I don't get what she means by negotiate another social identity. Like, why would you need to negotiate a social identity because you're a college student? I don't get how that works.
Okay. Do you mind if we use you as an example? Maybe it'll help if I work with your question, if that makes sense.
That's fine.
So what do you consider your social identity?
Well, I'm kind of similar to you in a sense. I mean, I am a first generation, a Mexican. I'm a girl.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you.
Okay. This can be a yes or no question. You don't have to go in depth unless you want to. Have you ever experienced a situation in which you have to constantly prove yourself that you're not that Mexican person? Like, for example, if you ever get in a heated debate with somebody, and there's like research done behind this. Sorry, this is kind of like a sensitive topic. So if somebody's talking about like racial issues or something very sensitive, and they want a reaction from you. They want you to get angry because they want to trigger you. They want to make it seem like this person's the loud Mexican or this person's the ghetto Mexican. Just like this negative concept of what our people are being carried on. But you have to bite your tongue and prove to them you're not that person. And it's very painful to experience that. But you know, we have to just be the stronger people. So if you've ever experienced something like that, what she means by negotiate is like you have to kind of convince the other person that you can still do it. You know, like, you know, for me, for example, I guess I get like a little sensitive, you know, like people expect me to already have children since I've been in high school, you know.
Right.
Like why don't I have 5 kids right now? Why am I not collecting like, you know, paychecks and stuff like that? People expect that from me based on my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, as a college, and then you compare me to another woman, maybe she has a different social identity. She's a woman, she has a different social identity, so she could be, you know, another ethnicity. And then I have to constantly prove like we're both from the same neighborhood, and I have to prove that I'm not going to be, you know, like that pool of other women that get pregnant at a young age. So that's kind of what you would do in your college setting. You know, you have somebody who's doing just a little bit better than you, and they have a different social identity, but you have to prove to yourself that you could still make it and be at the same level without competing. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I get what you're saying.
So that's a really tricky question, but I think that's what she's wanting us to answer. Because like, let's read the question again. Considering that you're not only a college student, so you know, social identity is you're a daughter, your sister, or maybe you're a mother. You know, and like, what is it more apparent that you need to somehow negotiate with other social identities? So like, let's say another Mexican woman who's a mom, you know, with being a college student in order to do well. So like another example, just somebody completely different. So let's so let's just make it even more similar. There's 2 women. They're both first generation. They're both college students, but one is a mother and one is not. So as a mother, she has to raise her child, take the child to school, you know, feed the child, you know, just be a mother, right? But the other student doesn't have to worry about motherly responsibilities at all. She can wake up whenever she wants, go to school whenever she wants, party, whatever she wants, right? But she's still a college student. She's still, you know, Latina, and she's still a first generation. But somehow the mother has to work just a little bit harder as the other student because she is a mother. I feel like that's a better example. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That
Can
was
I
a good
try mine?
example. Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm gonna be right, but I'm a Mexican American, a woman, a mother,
Mhm.
a wife. That would be
Yeah.
that would be my social or personal.
So social, personal. Here, let me scroll up, okay, just to double check. So personal identity would be I already got them mixed up. So your personal identity would be for since you're a college student. Your social
Yes.
identity is you're a mother,
Mhm.
You're Mexican American,
Mhm.
you're a daughter, a wife,
Mhm.
or a mother.
Yeah.
So that's what you would answer. Okay.
Okay.
'Cause, mhm.
For example, my where I have to prove the one that you guys were discussing. I had a friend that all her family has my major is accounting, so all of her family is like accounting, and I'm the first one in my family that does accounting. So I did have to prove myself to be on her level, even though she had more experience. I don't know if that would help anybody, like that's another example.
That is a perfect example because you're doing it all by yourself. And your
Yes.
classmate or friend, that person has so many resources because if she gets stuck on something or if she needs help finding a job, she has so many connections, and that's a blessing,
Yeah.
but your blessing is that you're working really hard to meet her level. So that's a perfect example. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you guys starting to get this one question? If you want, I can also help you on the one-on-one if that helps you guys.
I just wanted to further the question about negotiate, because your explanation was comparing two different women, one being a mother, one not be. But in the question, I gather that it's like a negotiation within yourself.
Yeah. So how do you have to prove yourself to meet at this person's level in order to do well, to do as equally well,
Oh, so it is bringing in like somebody else.
Yeah, because like let's read the question one more time. Considering that you're not only a college student, when is it more apparent that you need to somehow negotiate with another social identity, so it's somebody else, with being a college student in order to do well?
Okay, so it's like I am a person of color and I went to high school with like all white people pretty much, and it's like I had to like do more to get the same or hardly or like not even the same, but to even come close to like the praise and the attention that my white peers got. Like that's what I'm negotiating.
Yeah, it's like trying to convince, you're trying to like meet at the same level. And that's a perfect example too, because imagine if you had to take ESL, but you still had to take the same classes and you don't know English. So you're working twice as harder as your other counterparts to be at the same level so you can meet at the same algebra classes. So you can be at the same history. But not only that, you're also learning it in English when that's not your first language. So you're having to prove that's another social identity. Like, social identity is English as a second language, so whatever your native language is, you're having to like work extra hard in order to do well as someone else too.
So that last part of the sentence, in order to do well, does that mean in terms of society, in order to do well in terms of society?
Yeah, it can be society or academically or within family. Yeah, it's just like it's another perspective, definitely. Are you guys starting to get this one question? Yeah. Do you want me to move on? Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Given that you are negotiating, what is your personal identity giving your two social identities? Okay, so let's go back to the first thing, copy paste it, and then we'll answer that. So, Okay, so let me read that again. Given that you are negotiating, what is your personal identity giving your two social identities? So we'll just pick these two. Okay, my personal identity is I'm a first generation college student. I don't know how she would want me to answer that.
I have a question. So, if we could go back to the last question, when we're negotiating
Mhm.
the two, I thought the way I thought it was like we have two social identities, and when do we have to like risk one for the other? Does
You
that
know,
make
I do read
sense?
it that way too. You're not wrong. I do see it that way too.
That's why I was kind of confused, because that's how I kind of took it.
Okay, so this is what I would do personally. Like I said, I'm going to share this document. So I'm going to type that example, an example based on what you said. So then at least we have those two examples and you guys can, type them down, like answering it in your words. So then when we meet with her on Wednesday, she'll clarify which one of the two. And I mean, at least we have both of them. We can just cut one off easier that way. So let's see. So within that, I'm gonna see how I can answer this. Which social identity do you have to risk in order to risk? Which social ID do you have
For
to
me,
risk
I
risking?
was kind of putting like so I have family. Well, I was raised in the Bay, so
Mhm.
I came out here for school freshman year. That was my first time like leaving my mom, and I kind of put that like my social identity was being a student, an employee, and having to like being a family member. I have
Mhm.
to sometimes like miss out on family events for in order to put more hours at work, or I have to go to school, so I miss out on putting those hours at work. So I have to kind of negotiate which one which one like benefits me more, or which one I prioritize more in a way. That's kind of what I put.
Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. I really like that. So as a first generation college student, I have to. So that's a perfect example. Because it just depends how you read this question. It can be read that way too. So I started thinking of it like that too. And then I just want to remind you guys, we are going over the midterm right now, but we're going to be doing this again on Wednesday, and she kind of wants me to run it a little bit more. But when I meet with her, I'm going to go over these notes that I have with her, that I've made, and then we're just going to answer them again, right? But then from there on, since you guys already have notes, it's going to be easy for you guys to elaborate it. And then hopefully that just makes things a lot easier for you guys. Okay. So then for this question, I feel like this question is kind of answering what the previous person just mentioned. Given that you're negotiating, what is your personal identity given your two social identities? Oh wait, I just deleted that. Social identity. So as a daughter, I have to miss out on family events because I'm a first generation college student and I have to go to class. And so I have to miss the quinceañera on that day. So that kind of answers this too, but I'm still going to write it down in other words. Let's see. Okay. Two social identities.
Wait, I'm confused because this whole time my understanding of personal identity were things like hardworking, loyal,
Am
like
I
stuff like
answering it wrong? Yeah. Hold on a second. I was
but
actually thinking.
I don't know now.
I'm getting nervous too. Hold on a second. So what I'm gonna do
Okay.
is I'm gonna see if I can find if I can find this handout, you know, like this document. Just to like double check because resources critical thinking based on. Critical reflection, social construction, civil icebreaker. Just gonna wait for this to load just to see. Today, social week 3. Okay, so this would be on week 3. You know, here are the answers. Like here we are. Like I'm so sorry, guys, but thanks for being patient with me. I'm gonna copy paste this, and then let's see if we're here. Okay, so personal identity is much more stable and coherent over time than social. Most individuals do not have multiple personal identities, nor do their personal identities change markedly from social context to social context. Okay. Social identity is defined as aspects from individual's identity that derive his or her knowledge as of being a mother, categories and groups together value the emotional significance attached to members. Okay, I feel like I can find an answer to this a lot more simpler than that. So I'm kind of confused. Right? Personal identity is interesting. And then this was also on week 3. So let's go to week 3. I'm sorry. Let's see. So let's go to the PowerPoint. Hi, I'm in a Zoom meeting. Just letting you know. I'm sorry. I'm in the living room. Let's see. Social construction. Culture. Social construction. Okay, this is how she wants to answer it then. Okay.
So I was looking in my notes and she did have us do a quick write and it said, what are your 2 social identities? You can list them. And then for number 2, what are at least 2 personalities? It doesn't say is personalities going to be personal identity because we put strong-minded, motivated, multi. So are those the same thing? No, right? Like personal identity and personalities.
You know, I think it is because social identity is like the most obvious thing. Like, let's see, remember being categories of groups. There we go. So social identity is defined as the aspects of an individual's self-identity that derive from his or her knowledge of being a member of the categories and groups. So social identity is like me saying, you know, I'm a woman. and I'm Chicana. So that's a social identity. Personal identity is, I'm hardworking, loyal, that kind of stuff. So are we answering that right? I just want to make sure. What did I put? Is personal identity, social identity?
Maybe it's like for my example of like missing out on family events, like it forces me to be organized and manage my time between like both social identities, maybe.
That would be personal. Yeah, it's like you're using your personal experience, your personal identity to be able to work towards your social identity. That makes sense. Okay.
So could that be an answer for that question?
And we're talking about this question here, right?
Yeah, given that you're negotiating with your personal identity given to your two social ones. So I'm organized basically it has to be good at time management or organized to negotiate between the two.
Okay.
For me, in my notes, I wrote down that it's like values, personalities, emotions, and habits for that. And I also posted something on the chat because I have to go right now and I wish I could stay a little longer. But I really do appreciate you making the Zoom. And quick question. You said it would be posted in the class modules on Canvas, correct?
This?
Yes, the Zoom.
I'm gonna I have no idea how to post this on the modules, but I can send it as a group class message because I know how to do that, and then once I figure out how to do it on the modules, I'll definitely put that up there. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. All right, you enjoy your weekend. Bye.
You too, bye.
Okay, so let's see. Based on my person. Okay. That's how I interpret the example that you offered. I feel like this would be a really good way to answer that. But like I said, my goal is to at least have you guys have notes because for the most part, a lot of people didn't really have anything at all, and that's totally fine. But it's better to have something so then when we meet on Wednesday, we can just tailor it from there. And then you just kind of like expand on that, rather than just like starting with nothing on Wednesday. That would be really scary. So, I may be wrong with my questions in the way I'm answering the questions, and that's fine, but we're all going to learn together on this. Okay. And it's better to just have something than nothing. I hope you guys are okay with that too. Do not forget to explain the difference between social and personal identity. Use Hurtado and Coding's chapter 2 to remind you in this discussion. So I took notes on that chapter. Let's see.
Can I add to the personal and social identity part? So
are we talking about this question here?
Just like the whole personal and social identity.
Go ahead.
I was kind of confused. I went back on my practice critical response about the chapter 2, the one that we just talked about. I put that personal identity is derived from how we're raised and who we surround ourselves with. I put like loving, nurturing, stuff like that, and then our social identity is more of how people see us from their perspective.
I like the way you answered that. That's a really good way to see it because personal identity is based on how you're raised, whether you were raised by a family member or not, that's still, it shows your personality. Yeah. And then the social identity is how other people see me. So other people would see me as someone with curly hair, a brown woman. So you are right. That's a really good way to answer that. let's see. I want to write that down because I feel like that would help others too.
I came into this Zoom late, so did you send this link to this Google Doc?
This Google Doc, I'm gonna send it once we're done with this meeting. I'm gonna send it via like Canvas message, so then you guys have access to it too. Please don't have it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Personal identity is how you know. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this hint, don't forget to define and explain the difference between social and personal identity. Use Hurtado and Gurin's chapter 2 to remind you of this discussion. So like you guys, you don't have to use Hurtado and Gurin's chapter 2 to remind you of the discussion, but if you took notes on the chapter, you can use it as reference. And then if you took notes within the class or PowerPoint, you can also use that too. You know, just to let you guys know, because I know sometimes it gets overwhelming when you read it and you're like, wait, I have to use chapter 2. It's one, it's a hint, it's a suggestion, and then 2, there's more than just one option. It's just, it makes it easy because since you guys already did the reading and you took notes, hopefully it just makes it easy for you to answer that. Okay, so I'm going to delete that and I'm just going to go over all of this because we're basically done with answering this first part of the midterm, and then this next part is the tricky part, but at the same time it's not. Okay, so when I also wanted to bring up to you guys, I made this Zoom session last 2 hours, so if you guys don't have to be here for 2 hours, it's the time that I put it based on just a hunch. We can just go over what we can. Okay, so these are just notes just to let you guys know, but just looking at this back, the instruction is please make sure to identify your work on the top, name, date, assignment, and instructor's name. So we have that part done right here. And then let's see, this midterm is of 2 parts, double space, submit through Canvas, be concise and clear in your response, and carefully edit your work with spelling, grammar, outlining your argument. And below are 2 questions you're expected to address, 6 pages, and have a good time management so you can receive your credit. Okay, submit it within time. So then this question, this whole paragraph, we divided that based on each sentence and answered each with notes, you know. So I'm gonna put this on the bottom so we have a good organizational flow. Okay, and then let's, like, I know these are bullet points, but I'm still gonna fix it so it just, you know, it just flows well. And I'm gonna delete that. Okay, so we have this part done, and then this is the first part. So how I would start answering these questions is, this one's how's your social and personal identity and operate in your life as a college student. So you can start off, my name is, you know, this is just based on my answer, okay? So you see, based on like the notes that we have, you start elaborating and it starts becoming an essay format, you know? So it just starts making it a little bit easier, but obviously, since we've been going over this a lot more, there's going to be more to social identity and there's going to be more to personal identity, you know? I just wanted to show you guys so you guys know how to start it, because sometimes when you have these notes, they're great and all, but sometimes we get stuck and think, how do I start? You know, it's always like a writer's block. So this is just an example. So how does social and personal identity operate with your life as a college student? And we also have even more notes down here. So we said how personal identity is how people were raised and surround you with. So my personal identity can also be, you know, I'm a caring and loving person. It doesn't have to be, I'm just a college student, you know. And your social identity, you know, it can be more than that, because you can be LGBTQ, you can be you know, your gender, they, them, female, male. So it just grows more and more based on the person, right? And then just to elaborate even more, you can find more to elaborate with, because you guys already did this on your Who Am I assignment. So if you guys copy and paste it, you guys have it there and start tailoring it. So then please share one lived experience as a college student that explains how social and personal identity appears and operates in your life. So this was my example, how I said, if I'm on campus and I just took a full course load of classes regarding my major, I come home to have lunch and I share what I learned in my day of classes. My family can tell the language change, you know, the shift change based on how I explain my school. So, and that's how it operates in my life, because, you know, they're very curious. You know, if you're a political science major, you start seeing life a little bit differently. You're like, oh man, now that makes sense why they do this in my neighborhood, you know. Or if you're doing electrical work, you're like, oh, now I could see that there's lack of resources here. So, you know, maybe that's why they're not constantly like bringing in electrical work within this neighborhood, something like that. So considering that you're not only a college student, what is it more apparent that you need to somehow negotiate another social identity with being a college student in order to do well? So there was 2 ways to answer this question, and we're not sure, but I'll find out and then I'll let you guys know. So one example is, you know, me being a Chicana woman, I'm next to a white woman and we're both taking the same class, but I have to work twice as hard given that I'm a first generation college student and I have lack of mentorship and family to support me with my academics. So to elaborate that in the next example, which social, wait, wait, 1 second. I just want to make sure I'm answering which social. Okay. And then another way to answer is like, to read this question is, which social identity do you have to risk based on the social setting that you're in? As a first generation college student, I have to risk family time in order to get homework done and also work. You know, so there's 2 ways to answer this question, and it can be read 2 ways. We're going to try to find out what that answer is. And it's good to have notes on this and all, because then when we meet on Wednesday, you can just cut out one of them and then move on forward from there. So then the next part is, given that you are negotiating, what is your personal identity given your 2 social identities? So then we have 2 other examples here. My personal identity as a first generation college student is a first generation college student. As a first generation, I have to miss out on family events due to the fact that I have homework and projects to do. And then another way to answer is, based on the fact that my social identity is Chicana and a daughter, I use my personal identity as a hardworking and organized person to manage my social identity. So that can be both. And then right here we have notes based on personal identity and social identity. And you guys also have your own notes on how you reference these 2. So then that's pretty much how we answered part 1. I feel like this is so overwhelming because I'm already overwhelmed. Let's see. Do you guys still want to do this? I just don't know if you guys have time and stuff.
Is there any way we can meet like another day and like go over the second part, or is that doing too much?
No, that's totally fine. That's why I mentioned Monday, because I'm gonna be on campus. So we can literally like text each other on the group me and say, let's meet on library at the library floor 3 at like 1:30 or something, just as an example, right? And then I just get a big table for us and then we go over part 2, because this is really heavy, you know, and you guys have your own way to answer these questions too. So I mean, I think that would help. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I would be down to meet tomorrow. I just have class, so it would. I don't know what times you're free and everyone else is free.
Yeah. If we meet before 6, because I have class at 6. So if anyone else is down to meeting at that time, we can. And I can also do it via Zoom if you guys can't make it.
Yeah, I can. I prefer Zoom.
That's totally fine. We can do that. So what we can do is text each other on the group me and then figure out a time for tomorrow. And then we do it tomorrow before 6. And I can do both Zoom and in person because I'm already going to be on campus anyways. So we can do that because this was a pretty heavy part. So then what we can do is go over part 2 tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we can go over the whole thing because it's going to be during class time anyways.
Should we have this all typed up by Wednesday, or should we stick with our notes to make sure? What do you think?
What do I think?
Should we get all our notes together and have everything down and then wait until Wednesday to make sure we're, before we start typing it all out, or should we have it typed out?
So I stopped the Zoom recording just to let you guys know. What I would personally do is I would actually start typing because then you can use Wednesday to just start making corrections. Jasmine's right. You can do that. That's one thing. The other thing is if we all meet on Wednesday, like I said, we're gonna go over the whole thing on Wednesday. And if you guys are still feeling so overwhelmed, you guys can all ask for an extension because this is a lot of work. And imagine there's gonna be other people who have life going on and they're not gonna have anything done by Wednesday. So life happens, like I'm there, I understand, but it's a realistic thing. These are really high expectations. And the second part, like it may seem like it's the easiest part because you're writing a letter. But to me, I don't know why that was the hardest part. That was like really, really hard for me to write. Like I didn't know how to do it, the outline or format or anything. You have to write in letter form. I don't think everyone has experience writing a letter. So that part can be really overwhelming. And then here, I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna like emphasize, I'm not trying to scare you guys, but like right here, she wants you to like specifically say, explain how Ramon and Esperanza's social identities were regrouped, some of its language, system of stratification, social reference. So there's a lot of terms you have to answer, and I feel like that gets really overwhelming because you're writing a letter and it's supposed to be like kind of casual, but you're supposed to use a lot of terms within your letter. I actually have my letter though, which is awesome because that part to me was the hardest part. So you have first, second, third, fourth, but within the first question, it's already a lot of stuff. You guys already have all this work done though. I just wanted to let you know. You guys go right here. You guys did this part. The handout, sorry. All the questions are answered. They're already there. Just letting you guys know. Everything's answered. But then when it gets overwhelming is when you have to go to the script and you have to look at the exact line to back up why you're using that scene. So it gets a little overwhelming having to go to the script and everything. It's not impossible. It's heavy. So that's why I think if you guys at least start part 1, have that typed up, it is going to save you so much time and effort, because I'm just saying on gut feeling, you guys could get an extension if you guys go for it, but there's a chance you can't, so I would take notes or have really long notes or get started on the paper, the first part. And then on the second part right here, like I said, it's already answered based on your handout. You know, so you can just start copying and pasting the things you wrote in your handout for that part. And then we can figure out more on Monday. I'm sorry, I'm kind of keeping this going. But yeah, I don't know if there's like anything else you guys want to specifically talk about.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
For like part 1, would you recommend it to be like 3 pages and then 3 pages for the part 2?
2 to 3.
2 to 3?
Yeah, because it's gonna get long. You have to answer so many terms on the other part, and it's a letter format. So you know, letter format takes space too.
Okay,
And
so
then
the
you're
first
using
part
like,
should be like 2 pages, and then part 3, the rest of the 6 pages.
yeah,
Or-
unless you can, unless you do half and half, you know, because sometimes it does work. But I would say 2, because
2?
the other one is the longest part.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, I would suggest you guys to get started on part 1, because honestly, that is the easiest part. I'm gonna send you guys the notes that I have. And then if you guys still have questions, go ahead and feel free to email me. I'm gonna try to get these questions answered to make sure that I'm answering this right. And I'm gonna keep trying to look for my midterm too, because I got a good grade on it and all, but I did go to her office to make sure I answered everything right. So if that's all you guys want to talk about, unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about.
No, I'm good. I don't know about everybody else. If we just do in the group me a time for tomorrow. Okay,
Exactly.
thank you for your help.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Thank you.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for taking time out of your day. It really helped.
Of course. Yeah, I know this is like so heavy. Like when she went over it in class, I got overwhelmed. So like I feel for you guys, you know, like this midterm is not easy. Honestly, this is really hard. But we're gonna break it down together, okay? I got you guys. All right, well, I'll let you guys go, and then we'll text in the group me for tomorrow, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for being here.